Today's matchup. BBQ Olivers. KT Rolster. The Fantastic Run.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Summer 2018. I'm Atlas, this is Papa. We just came off the longest series that we've had in a very long time, and we're sorry, we're an hour behind schedule, but we still have a series to come. It's going to be KT versus BBQ, a team not necessarily on the rise in KT.
And BBQ, who I thought you were alluding to, also on the free fall. So it's struggle street for both these teams. KT high expectations. KT can also 2-0 this comfortably, but can and should are words that KT don't like very much at all. So we're unsure what to make of this. Historically, when KT fell, they fell really hard. So we'll wait and see if the hard times do extend or whether BBQ will unfortunately struggle one more series in a row. We had a very long Kingzone versus FLICKR series that has squared the ledger between those two, both at 3-1. Genji and Griffin up the top, but KT Rolster, oh boy, they don't want to be 7th.
They certainly don't. They've had a little bit of a rough time in their last couple of games. It's been a FLICKR and Kingzone that they've come up against. However, BBQ Olivers also a FLICKR and Griffin. Being able to take a game from Griffin, though, is important for BBQ Olivers. Of course, did feel like Griffin were able to turn around that series very, very easily in game number 3, but certainly there is still a light. I mean, having one game win is much better than having absolutely none throughout the season. But KT Rolster, 7th place, unfamiliar territory, especially at the beginning of a season. Beginning of the season is when KT often get their fans excited, and then it just straight up doesn't work out towards the end if we're going to be following the script. But guys, let's have a look at what our rosters are going to be. Both of these teams switching things up a little bit, especially in that jungle position. So who's going to be in the jungle for BBQ Olivers? It is going to be that man who spent some time in EU. It's going to be Trick, Crazy on the top side of the map, Tempt doing the most damage for this team, and Ghost and Ignar this time around on the bottom side.
BBQ have been persevering with Ghost over Ares and Trick over Bono. I think that's the right choice, but persevering also with the new meta without really seem to be in sync with it. I feel like the Vladimir from this team outside of Tempt has been poor. It's 5 games of Marksman Vladimir 0-5. They tried out the Manta strategy, Master Yi and Tarek, and let's just say they tried a new take at it, because if they were trying to copy it, it was a pretty poor copy. And so they tried the new, it hasn't worked. Do they fall back to something a bit more meta today? That's what we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see what BBQ Olivers is going to be able to do, whether they're going to be pulling out a whole bunch of cheese as well, because now's the time to go for desperation moves. You got nothing else to lose. But KT Rolster, this is a team that needs to start moving their way back up to the top of the tables. Only 3 matches under their belt so far, but it's going to be Rush, the kind boy, in the jungle this time. Smeb, of course, on the top side of the map. Ukal, Deft, and Marta to round out the roster, but they weren't switching around anywhere. KT, not one of these 10-player teams, certainly very locked in apart from that jungle role, but not going to be seeing score is interesting.
Yeah, only a couple of games from score this season, and they have been falling back to Rush more and more, but I think that's already notable, the fact that they are settling on a roster, the fact that previously they were settled with score, and now the team seems pretty out of sync. I think Ukal has been up and down, largely down recently. I think Smeb had a very poor series last time out. He tried the Rumble on patch 8.11, and I think your one patch early there. Feels like the best of KT hasn't come together, and that means they're 3-3. And 1 match win, 2 match losses overall.
Yeah, it's not good reading here for KT fans, but with only 3 matches under their belt, there certainly is time to change things as the season moves forward. BBQ Olivers, though, if they suffer another 0-2, it will look like a tough run for them, but still not exactly great news. And normally we have pretty explosive graphs here, but some modest ones.
Some bad news popped up for me as well. The Moose on the Loose is 1-0 up over Australia, which is happening at the same time. Denmark versus Australia, the Costa Beef, and the Moose on the Loose got the early lead. I guess we'll check in when this match is over, probably around half-time for the game. But, oh boy, could be a rough one for us Aussies.
Yeah, well, let's just hope that this game doesn't trigger you as much as the football is going to be doing so.
Yeah.
Because, look, Australia just hasn't been very good at that particular type of football. And BBQ Oliver's not very good at beating KT Rolster. However, if we follow the logic, the trend is moving towards BBQ Oliver's with a 2-1 victory.
Does that mean the trend is coming towards Australian sport?
Ooh, maybe.
No, it doesn't mean that. As the trend has also been moving away from Smeb a little bit. He has pretty middling numbers in terms of the pack of top lane. The Rumble, one patch too early. In general, he had a very poor Aurelia game to follow that up, so maybe we go back to the tanks and the Mundo, if possible. I think Mundo would be a smart ban, because a fallback champion for Smeb, when he's looking a bit vulnerable, is something you want to avoid giving him over.
Well, I mean, this was up against Khan, where we saw both of those failings. Now up against Crazy, which is going to be a very different beast to tackle on the top side of the map. But let's have a look into the mid lane, because Yukao, this is not the explosive young man performance that we had when he first debuted onto the Rift. This is some numbers that haven't been impressive.
And he got double MVP in his first series and then has had 2 down ones in a row. And when you're a young player with not a lot of games to show for yourselves, 2 in a row is a trend, 2 in a row is a pattern, and 2 in a row is something he will want to snap. The Swain has been banned against him ever since that first match, and of course has become a pretty standard meta ban. Speaking of someone we have high expectations for, usually, unfortunately, it's been rough times for Tempt as well, but I think the fans still going to be on the side of KT, and in a big way.
Yeah, that number was not ticking up very fast on the side of BBQ, but understandable. They've had a horror of a start of the season, and might be just getting worse here. But if they turn it around against KT, could use it as a springboard to find themselves some form.
I think it's almost a best of 1 for BBQ. They need to win game number 1 because low confidence after their run. If you lose game 1 and KT dispatches you, hard to see you come back. So BBQ Olivers, throw it in for game number 1. You need to.
Yep, and the manner of the loss as well could also come down to something as well as BBQ going to ban away Lulu, the number 1 first pick, as their first ban. And that's going to be responded with the Master Yi coming out from KT.
Did see one other funnel comp work in the LCK. That was the Kai'Sa from Hanwha Live Esports yesterday. KT probably want all the shenanigans to be abated by BBQ.
Yeah, I find it interesting that the Yi was the follow-up ban after the Lulu, just based on Lulu's necessity in compositions like this.
And I'm not unclear on if KT is banning Vladimir against BBQ or against themselves, because Deft struggled on it last time out. And, well, BBQ was 0-5 in the bot lane role with the Vlad, but no Vlads, maybe just in scrims. They didn't want to practice against Vlad anymore, and they just banned it out straight up.
Yeah, and it was Ares that actually looked the most impressive on the Vlad, weirdly enough, even though he hasn't been able to find any wins on it.
And even then, it was not too much to speak about the mid lane.
I mean, we have to talk about it in the context of BBQ don't win very much, okay? You know, it's more about in-game rather than in victories, because there's only one of them to talk about. Is Yasuo going to be the final ban here from KT?
Do BBQ take away something, or do they just go for the Zoe power pick? They power pick for Tempt, but does mean that the Swain is open and could be flexed on the side of KT Rolster.
Yeah, and LeBlanc still available here as well if Yukao wants to go for the classic pick into the Zoe. Hasn't showed it to us so far this season as of yet, though, and Swain is available for him to pick up. Camille going to be picked away from Crazy. Certainly a power pick for Crazy on the top side of the map, Pop Smithy?
We're going to have to focus on what's on the action because Crazy's Camille left a lot to be desired. But this is the Swain I was alluding to. Yeah. Matchup against Zoe's not fantastic, but you can build pretty tanky. You don't get popped outside of some edge circumstances, and it is a flex pick for KT.
Yeah, could be going towards the bottom side, towards the top side, and definitely into the mid lane there for Yukao, which is the expected location. Trick, considering a Trundle, pretty meta jungler here, as he's been the guy really switching things around, played a unique jungler every single time, but this would be a meta pick, as the Mundo, like you were mentioning before, something worth looking at, and will be picked on the top side.
I think a lot of more people are picking it for power after Griffin showed the way, and other teams like Kingzone Dragon X have been able to follow up on.
Yep.
Also a very good champion against Zoe, so putting them together does abate some of the threat of the Mundo trivializing A Zoe is getting really nice on the side of BBQ in terms of a strong blue side draft.
This is exactly the same draft that Kingzone used to defeat a FLICKR in game number 1.
Beautiful. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Maybe they were watching the first series of the night.
Maybe that's what it is. The drafting coach is like, I'm just so bad. I don't know what to do to fix it. Oh, I'll just copy what a winning team managed to do.
I mean, every other region has done it about the LCK for a long time, so why
Yeah.
not go into your own league? It's all right. Smeb says, I want to kill some Mundos.
Yep, let's bring it on is basically what Smeb's saying, because he needs to bounce back after that horrific performance against Kingzone. Was it Kingzone that have just proven were on the rise, able to take down a FLICKR Freaks? Definitely scary competition who are vying for that very top spot.
I actually think that
Great,
Aatrox
unable to.
loses trades pretty hard early against Mundo, which is always amusing to hear. His laning phase not strong. A couple of items roll in. With a gank, things can turn around. And if it is Rush on the Camille, I'd like to see him go top lane and give Mundo a couple of things to think about. Speaking of things to think about, looking at the draft here, BBQ already have a pretty balanced draft. They can do a lot of things, and they say maybe we'll play a bruiser by banning away the Soraka. Strong laning support for Mata.
Certainly the Fiddlesticks is standing out, and Rakan also available as well. You can imagine KT might leave the Rakan up, give Mata another playmaker, but Alistair also there as well.
And that's the one I was going to get to, is if you follow the earlier series of the day, if we see duo lane from the Swain, the Alistair Swain could go bot lane. Possibility, but Yukal, who we dubbed Daddy Yukal for his Swain play, has been drawing plenty of attention on that pick. The Skarner ban is interesting, a old trick fallback champion.
Saw it used very successfully by Mowgli in his debut game as well,
Yep.
so impressive, and wasn't a power pick, but now you can understand the ban after at least it's been demonstrated that it can work. Fiddlesticks going to be banned away as well, as predicted.
Maybe something like a Sejuani here for Trick, because again you see Camille Swain, and you're like, I don't really want to opt into these 2v2s, so going for a Xin would, I think, be needlessly risky on the side of BBQ. So an engaged tank jungler, to me, a fallback is what you want. Is speaking of engage, hello Rakan on the side of KT.
Yep. And look, I managed to at least get the end of the bans correct, and the first pick that was available for Mata was picked up. But I actually agree with you, Papa. I feel like the Alistair might have even been a better option there, just to at least look towards the flex of the Swain.
Rakan has more lane presence. Yukal's probably playing the Swain, so I'm more interested to see the choices here on the side of BBQ.
Okay.
They do go for the Varus, so we're getting real meta at this point. Have we just copy-pasted it completely, Atlas?
Almost. Yeah, it's getting to that. Getting to that point.
Let's just finish it off. Give it to all of us here.
Oh, Deft needs to go for the last pick, Kaiser.
I'm just very interested to
Let's
see
do it.
what happens on the side of BBQ here about jungle pick. I was thinking tank jungler with engage like Sejuani. Amumu would be a big Cloud Templar champion, but instead they don't go engage. They go Graves and say, maybe I'll just farm instead of 2v2ing instead.
Yeah, I looked over at Cloud Templar actually and had a big grin on his face after that hover, but Graves makes, yes, exactly right, a lot more sense. Aurelia being considered, and that's
Locks.
most likely a Deft pickup as well on the bottom side. Okay, or it could be flexed into the mid. I don't quite know exactly what's going to happen here, and it looks like Deft might be playing the Swain. Ignite has been picked up by Yukal, so that does look like he will be heading into the mid lane with the Aurelia.
Very interesting. So Aurelia versus Zoe is a matchup strong. Also Aurelia against Avaris is happy times. Finally an 80 carry for the Aurelia to do well against. Didn't necessarily pan out in our first series, but that is typically what you have Aurelia for. The Swain Rakan is not quite the Swain Alistair, but does have plenty of CC abilities for that Swain to put his passive on, and that is what we get, Atlas. So this is the final choice on the side of KT to me. The question is, can Smeb get going on the Aatrox? Because Aatrox versus Mundo, there should be a bit of elo heaven for both of these. The item timings, I think, for the Rage Blade and the second Giant Spot item will be very important to track.
Yeah, and some really scary timers on the map as well, given the fact that there is going to be that Rage Blade 80 carry that if the Varus can't be got to and locked down, he could potentially take over the game. And of course, the Mundo, the mad scientist on the top side of the map, is looking real dangerous. I know it is crazy, he hasn't had the best season so far, but BBQ's composition, look, if it was played by anyone else, I'd be real scared.
And I'm impressive that BBQ have finally dropped Let's Go for Innovation. They've gone for some meta stuff, very powerful in the Siege. some good late game in the Mundo. Meanwhile, KT are still rolling the dice. It's still Deft, one of the best attack damage carries of all time on the swing.
It is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if it is going to work. It's the Kingzone comp, but without a Trundle and with a Graves for BBQ. Let's get into game number 1. KT fans not exactly out in force tonight, but it's getting late. Of course, 9 p.m. People probably needing to go home a little bit early tonight.
And there's also an extra variable. We actually didn't have everyone here. All the tickets were sold out in our first series, but not everyone attending because Atlas, it's exam times in Korea.
That is true.
So harder to get over here.
Harder to get your parents' permission to get over here as well.
KT fans in the audience, they're representing. They still want to see a hashtag KT win.
Yep, Deft fan in the audience there as well.
Looking at the history, those are a lot of 4s on the side of KT, and they only played in regular season, and 4 wins is how many you need to take down an opponent twice.
Yeah. And KT, you already saw it at the beginning of the series. They have not dropped a best of against BBQ, but BBQ have been trending up. In the last 3 best of 3s, they have managed to take a game. Is that going to be the same here? I'm not entirely sure because BBQ's start of the season has been a horror. There's no leash to come in for Trick here. Of course, can kite around this Brambleback very easily.
And we see Aatrox versus Mundo. Mundo should be pretty comfortable in the early trades. It's always a situational all-in around level 2 with a gank, but I couldn't see a solo kill in this lane. I've been surprised before by Crazy, as recently as earlier this week.
Yep. We should probably not talk about that, I guess.
KDA's here, not the best, 10th, 11th of 10 teams when it comes to the mid lane.
Yeah.
So some substitutes doing some work.
And also Yukal's not having his greatest time as well. You already spoke about it before the match, but hasn't been the same Yukal that we saw doing explosive things when he first made his way into the LCK.
Sample size is working against him. 1 double MVP match and then 2 pretty poor performances. So.
Yep.
He is 2 matches without a great performance, which for great players is usually a sign for everyone to lose their minds and say they need to be subbed out.
Well, you saw that was Rush deciding not to take a 1v1 against Trick, which you could somewhat understand. Electrocute Graves, nothing to be trifled with.
I know. Summoner choice by Yukal is an intriguing one. He did go for
Yeah, I thought it was the Ignite, but no, the Exhaust in the end.
Ignite, Exhaust, Cleanse. All of these things could be considered. It ended up being the Exhaust.
BDD decided when he was up against the Zoe in the lane that the Cleanse was the choice. Some scuffle here on the bottom side of the map.
Well, it's also Varus, so in a team fight, the ability to dive the backline is going to be why you picked the Aurelia. Now, QSS could, of course, come out, but still is a surprise to see the Exhaust.
Yeah.
Useful against Graves in a 2v2 scrap, that's for sure.
Also useful if he's going to be going for the aggressive plays as well. I mean, offensive exhausts are pretty effective. But you mentioned the fact that Mundo does have a decent time against the Aatrox. He's going to continue to do so as Smeb giving up a bit of this farm, and Trick is going to turn up. Okay, Darklight going to be needed here, and maybe even the flashes. No, the Cleaver not going to come in. End of the line is not the end of the line for Smeb, but he will have to go home without his flash.
Actually, if the Crazy had hit that Cleaver, I believe the auto Q would just kill it straight up.
Yep.
It was actually a very creative play there from Trick, got baited by the animation. It was just a little bit short, about 1 team or 100 units short. He'll get the kill, but even getting the Summoner, it's a good trade of Summoners for Crazy. So now he doesn't have to respect the flash from Smeb.
But no more flash from Trick either, so he's going to be a little bit less dangerous. Might give Rush some opportunities to go for something aggressive, as long as he stays away from the Raptor camp, as Taipei Assassins being represented here by Crazy.
Season 2 skin.
One of my favorite Mundo skins. Of course, Corporate Mundo is the best. I think that's to be accepted, but the gonk sound of this skin is so satisfying.
I must admit.
Listen to it. Oh.
I've recently come to enjoy the sombrero playing on the, I believe it's Pool Party Mundo.
Oh, yeah.
Strumming in the face as my ultimate is running after I've already done my Mundo thing. It's pretty fun.
And bashing someone with banjos feels real good. There's Smeb. He's got himself a Rejuve bead.
Working towards his Tiamat. Didn't have the best back timing, of course.
Yeah,
Couldn't get Tiamat straight up. Surprising amount of lane control on the bot side. You would not expect there to be a CS lead for Rakan and Swain over Varus, but that has happened.
But
maybe that's more of a Deft Martyr thing than a matchup thing.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that as in goes Yukao, just clears out that wave very effectively as Rush not going to be able to find any ganks there, and even Martyr was moving up as well.
To be clear, there should be a pretty big CS lead for the Varus. Now, it could have just been a get back timing thing, so perhaps we're overplaying it, but you would expect a consistent creeping CS lead for the Varus, who alone should be able to heavily outtrade Swain and the Rakan.
And Deft actually deciding not to use his teleport to get back into lane. Maybe thinking that he could use it to quickly go back and finish off his Rod of Ages as soon as it is available to be purchased, but also having the wave in a decent position.
Well, that tells you that Ghost is recalled twice, Deft is recalled once, and Deft is up in farm. So that is a bad sign for the side of BBQ.
Yep, and it's only going to get worse until they make it back to that lane as well. And freeing Martyr to move around on a playmaking champion.
Music to your ears if you're a KT fan. Now they know that Trick's flash is down, so they're going to try and kill him.
And they are going to do so very quickly. That's going to be first blood going to the Camille. And Rush, I mean, we're on the other side of the map. The Raptors dangerous for Camille. This side looking good.
And Rush and Smeb combining for a very nice timing of invade.
He's Korean, I think.
What? Oh, right. I got it now. Well, you derailed my point, but the main point was, what was the cost of the top lane gank? Trick's flash is down. That meant either you provoke ganks in the mid lane with Aurelia's ultimate and went out and just turn on to the Graves, or you find them, Aatrox pushes up, Aatrox puts down a ward, nicely capitalized on, well played, KT.
Yeah, they're going to grab an assist on their Aatrox as well, who is struggling a little bit towards that top side at the same time, so that flash being almost back off cooldown means that he might be able to start getting a little bit more aggressive despite the CS disadvantage.
And if you're going to be running Rush, play around his natural tendency. Do not make this guy a pathing jungler. Trade upon his aggressive tendencies. You've got score for the other side. Give yourself a defined win condition through Rush, and it's good to see KT play on the front foot.
Yeah, you saw Smeb. He was actually trying to get back home, but Crazy stopping that back timing is now tempted. He's going to get stunned up. The ultimate comes down. Double exhaust to come in as well as finally the flash. End of the line. So much burst damage, but no level 6. Smoke screen, and the red buff's going to be enough. Trick locks down his first kill too.
Exhaust so big on that. Looked like the ultimate missed, but regardless, it wasn't forwards, it was backwards, and thus did not impede Tempt at all. Not quite enough damage to take him down, and Yukal's struggle streak does continue.
Yeah, looking decent for the all-in, but unfortunately just couldn't quite get there. Ghost now in a little bit of trouble. The Vision of Empire is at least dodged there by Ghost.
Can't see the Devour cooldown, so wasn't aware of where that was at.
Yeah, unfortunately, looking at the Varus here, and his cooldowns aren't as important.
Deft. Much stronger laning phase on the Swain than his Vladimir that he struggled a bit on earlier this week. See if his team fights can work.
Yeah.
Again,
it's a different theory for Deft.
It's so weird, though, seeing such a talented player, one of the few players who could stutter step on 5 attack speed Cogmore.
Yeah.
Which was one of those clips that really got around, as that was before Cogmore was changed back and thus had that 5 attack speed, and it was almost impossible to attack move on. He was able to make it happen, and now he's on Vladimir and Swain, so the world does turn as the years go on, Atlas.
And we thought that Deft might have been one of those players, much like Ruler as well, as Genji was one of our earlier teams to play. And I thought surely Deft wouldn't want to go towards bruisers or mages or things like that on the bottom side, because he always has been known as this premier AD carry player.
One time he rolled the dice, that famous Jace with TP game didn't fill your head with the best memories.
No. His lane partner Martyr as well, I believe, in the same tournament played to support Lee Sin, to put hairs on your chest as well.
And then a different tournament played to support Jace with one hand. But I don't think he likes talking about that.
No, that's a different one. I don't know. Is he even allowed to talk about it? I don't know what the ruling was on that one.
The ruling was that he was a bit naughty.
He was definitely a bit naughty.
BBQ are roaming up. I'm not happy to see BBQ on the front foot. Risky to do against Swain Rakan, but Varus, to his credit, is doing fine bot side as Rush is back.
Yeah, and that's the stopwatch just to set up for Rush. The flash does come in, but will he land the stun? Yes, he does. Not a lot of damage here available, but there it is. Smeb lands it. The teleport has to be cancelled, and KT doubted the damage, and then the explosion came in.
And a lot of people cathartic about seeing a Mundo chop down. That can happen early, so even though a turret dive on a Mundo at level 11 with a Giant Spell or 2 is a poor decision, now with the Mundo, just with a Balmy Cinder, no more, no less. Good timing, good kill, well played, KT.
Yeah, Smeb's even going to deny a lot of these creeps as well. Teleport available here for Crazy.
Oh, it's Protobell.
Too much as Yukao. Man, we've seen this story earlier on today. It gets real scary when these paddle stars start to land.
But let's remember something. Tempt has not gone for the BDD rune. He went for Electrocute when he was able to one-shot Spirit, and it seemed like there was a Trundle ultimate there as well, so there were some caveats, but this is much more summoner airy. I'm going to auto-attack a melee champion many times, so the burst damage a little bit toned down.
Yeah, thankfully for Yukal, he's kept up in farm, does have his exhaust back off cooldown, the same as Tempt. And Rush just going to continue clearing things out. Very active on the pings on the side of BBQ, not quite so much on the side of KT. This top side of the map is the focus. Crazy just trying to hold on and get to that unkillable Mundo stage.
Wait, the Ruin King coming through from Ghosts. They're walking up.
Yep. Oh, they're not going to be able to get the Devourer until half the health bar of the Varus is gone. And now Rush makes his way down. Oh my god, the damage. And Ghost was so scared, he threw the ult the wrong direction. It's a really nice use of the stopwatch as Mata gets the knock up. Beautiful timing as Ignar. He can't do it, but does get the one back onto Mata. Man, that was real close to a perfect dive.
A 2-for-1 and Roller, like you saw, looked a bit forlorn about that one. Knows he made a bit of a boo-boo. Ultimate going the wrong way. The ultimate to actually force out some more utility from the side of KT would have been important. And it's always a tricky question. When do you go for the Devour? Seems like it was too late. Much damage onto Roller, who misses the ult. If you ult, then suddenly Deft can't move. Suddenly that might even spread onto Mata and Rush, and you just get a cheeky double kill under the turret. Nice little 1-for-2, as Tomkins does get something, but something will probably not be enough for the side of BBQ.
Yeah, I think the only reason Mata died there was because Deft used his stopwatch a little bit too early, as in goes Smeb. See whether they can actually stop this one. Teleport is going to be invested as now Smeb wants to take down Trick. We've got an Abyssal Voyage though as Smeb. He's committed to this one. He's got the passive and the flash over from Deft. Crazy. We'll see whether they've got enough damage to get rid of him. He doesn't have the ultimate, but it's trying to run. It's trying to tick as Smeb comes back. Remember, no passive this time is Deft. He gets exhausted from Tempt, and the Devour now comes through. Ignar potentially in trouble, but he's got a full health bar, and Crazy just wanders his way out.
TPA Mundo lives just long enough as Ghost is pushing bot side. Big lead in terms of picking up a bit of turret health here on the bot side, given they had surrendered the Varus. It should have been kills and more the side of KT. It's still going to be a turret. Still is something on their side, but the Rift Herald was also picked up by Ignar. That means they were able to pick up a lot of neutrals, and they're actually forcing KT to react.
Yeah, first turret does go down on the top side of the map, but mid lane will immediately be the answer with that Rift Herald. As you mentioned, it was Ignar that was able to skirt his way around and pick that one up. Okay, what does this mean for the rest of this game as well? Because not a lot of range available on the side of KT. They want to have these big cluster fights. You saw that last one working out in that favor, but BBQ can skirt around them very well with the likes of Zoe skipping around and Ignar helping Ghost reposition and stay at range, who's going to get another turret. So now BBQ ahead as far as the turret game is concerned.
But the Doctor is going to be on Struggle Street Atlas because it's Titanic Hydra and Executioner's calling already for the Aatrox, who was able to buy a snowball item to help with the 1v1 and the Rage Blade on the way, compared to not even a Sunfire cape. Probably a lot of gold in the inventory here for Dr. Mundo because he's been sitting on the Ruby Crystal and the Sunfire cape for a while. Yeah. But Smeb is outpacing Mundo, and now I think Mundo's relevant time of being able to shrug off damage is getting delayed even further. And that could be a problem given that this Aatrox is well and truly online.
Well, we've also got a blue buff actually being given to Rush as well. They want him to get to that Trinity Force as quickly as possible. A lot of our Camille's, if they don't get much work done, it is a problem. But this one's 1, 0, and 2. Able to keep up in farm with Trick as well. And we know that Graves mows down the jungle. Yukal whether he can actually get anything done here on the bottom side, but I think that Ignar should be able to stop the all-in onto the Varus.
Mundo being down in farm means that Aurelia may be uncontestable in the 1-3-1. Zoe certainly doesn't want to be in lane against Aurelia in a long lane. Cracking the mid lane turret on the side of KT to answer the one that BBQ picked up in the mid lane would be important to remove some of the safe lane assignment for the Zoe. Drake's going to be started.
KT should be able to lock this one down as well. A fair bit of damage coming in here as you enter that pit. It's like entering the Thunderdome. So much damage in short range. Here available for KT. Mountain Drake is actually going to be very important. When Smeb does build that classic 2 items, the Baron is not going to stand a chance against this Aatrox.
Still got an entire Rage Blade to go when Merc treads and Execution is calling, so that timing will be pushed back.
Tempt, you can see, gingerly farming out these creeps. Does know that there is no outer turret there in the mid lane though, and it's a bit harder for KT to step forward. Having multiple members there makes sense.
Pretty big problem for Mundo this game is that Mundo, if he can get ahead in lane, could do nice things against the Aatrox if he's behind in items. That didn't happen, and you think, okay, it's still the team fight, Mundo's going to run at someone. Let me present to you a team that has no one to run at, which is KT Rolster, and that's one of the reasons that Swain is a nice pick, because he's another person that says, I don't care about that Mundo, I'm going the other way. So Mundo's going to be brawling, and when Mundo doesn't have someone to anti-carry, because Mundo is a soak, he's not a peel tank.
The classic meat shield.
Yes, his meat is kind of less relevant if it's not shutting someone down. So for KT, and the amount of dive they have, with the Mundo not the most relevant, with Aurelia so well at disarming either Tempt or Ghost, team fights here from a gold lead looking pretty tasty. The side of KT Rolster. Speaking of tasty, a lot of Aatrox damage dealt this game.
Yeah. Speaking of the meat shield, he's going to be smacking onto the Mundo over and over again. Makes sense that he's ahead as far as damage. Tempt as well with all of his poke available is why he's ahead of UCal. And yeah, this is the 1-3-1 working out. Everyone hanging out here towards the bottom side because this is where the turret is going to be most likely to go down. They do secure it very easily. You mentioned that Crazy didn't have his Sunfire Cape, does have it now. The Giant's Belt just to augment that one as well.
No kill pressure from the Aurelia, but no problem. Takes the turret, backs away. Smeb finally finds a duo in his face. One of Aatrox's big weaknesses. Can only just farm with E from range and hope for things to change. He'll pack up for now.
Well, UCal goes back. He's Durham's Fist as well as some boots, so heading towards that Sterix for item number 2. We'll see whether he can actually get there. Remember, BDD relatively starved on his game as the Aurelia in the mid lane earlier on.
And remember, when we look at BBQ, who again, you outlined in Champ Select, have a comp that apes what we saw from Kingzone that they won with earlier today, barring a change in the jungle. They have strong Siege. You know, Siege is something they do have a lot of power in with Varus and Zoe. Getting to the Siege, pushing up the vision is something they've done already. You'll notice they have good defensive control wards, they have some offensive vision. Actually pulling the trigger on lane assignment and making that turret Siege, the last easy turret is the top side, is something that's slowing them down quite significantly.
Yeah, not quite working out. Speaking of the Swain that was on screen just before, Oblivion Orb picked up as sort of the second go-to item, wanting to make sure that Crazy's not going to be able to get that healing. Morellonomicon is going to mean him foregoing the Zhonya's Hourglass, which I thought was a guarantee for item number 2.
Especially in a game like this where the Mundo's behind, I think Def being able to dive in is more important than Def slowing down the Mundo. In a different game where Mundo's the only person ahead, you definitely would understand the Morellonomicon. But with stopwatch already broken, the extra time you can buy in a team fight is so important.
Oh, look where they are.
Uh-oh, Raptors versus
Exactly.
Zoe. And it's always blue side Zoe.
The red side Camille never wins that battle.
Nope. This time doesn't die though. That's a first for today.
That's probably because Tempt just didn't know that he could kill him. Seems to have a buff there as Ghost. Oh no, where are you? The ultimate is going to land as Marta wants to find his way in, but that stun timing was really nice. And Rush, he's going to have to get out. Utilizes the blast cone to do so. As Deft with the ultimate is going to deter BBQ from following, but it was a nice defensive play from BBQ Olivers.
Marta loses a lot there. He really wanted to be able to make the engage, was stuffed by the Varus ultimate. Frustrating for the side of KT. They used quite a lot of resources. Deft almost celebrates with a ultimate there on the Swain, which was unnecessary. So now those tools are down, and the game does extend for BBQ.
The demonic party. Not bad. Deft is going to be able to at least clear out this wave just fine, and has made it to level 11 as well, so that Q well and truly stacked up. Can clear waves pretty quick. 10 stack on his Rod of Ages as well. As Smeb's going to make his way out. See where he's going to go next, as Trouble Bubble is going to be completely ignored by Yukal. Not bad.
Game has slowed down. The 1-3-1 is going to be pretty merciless from KT. In fact, they have multiple people who can 1-3-1. Even Death's, I don't know, I'm level 11, I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm on Swain. The Aurelia finding a way to come online, and the 1-3-1 is probably smart. Get the Sterix, maybe another item, then think about going for the team fight. Playing around Baron is what BBQ would love to do, because then you can just look for the poke behind the turret, as Rush decided to step on that for unknown reasons.
For fun.
But Zoe Varus around the Baron is something Kingzone showed, because you can just move your control wards up, and then the first person who face checks dies to some combination of the Chain of Corruption and the Trouble Bubble.
Not to mention the fact that they can be positioned more aggressively, given the Tahm Kench that has been so incredibly good this entire patch long. Or JJ certainly demonstrating that one. As, oh no, Ultimate's going to miss, but as well as a few of the buttons from Tempt, as in goes Marta, looking for even more, but the ult now flying through from Ghost. Yukal having to flash to get himself out of the way. Once again, we're going to have a stalemate.
And so close yet so far for KT a second time, as this time Marta uses flash. I'm going to get him this time. Unfortunately, the Trouble Bubble arms onto the Aurelia. They don't close the kill. The almost aren't actually setting KT behind, but it's stopping them growing what looks like a threatening gold lead at every turn.
Yeah, and Yukal missing his ult probably meant that Temp survived just there. So a little bit unfortunate for him as well. Morellonomicon completed here for Deft, but you've also got Luden's Echo building towards a couple of items here on the side of Tempt, and Warmog's armor has been finished off by Crazy, trying to get his way back in here into this game.
Strange item choice. The Phage, the next item for Smeb. Maybe wanted less of a drop-off, because building Rage Blade does leave you a little bit stuck. You're kind of there with items that together build something super powerful, but alone the recurve bow and other things aren't quite as gold efficient.
Well, KT looking for this bottom lane as BBQ. They just want to take down Ignar if they can get their trick. He's going to turn up, though, as once again Marta jumps in, but uses the Battle Dance to get himself back out again immediately.
Getting summoners for free. KT will take that. Neither team are pushing their agenda forward right now. They're pushing in the mid lane. I guess Trinity Force second is what you'd think. I think Black Cleaver sounds like a pretty weird item choice on the Aatrox.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it if he just leaves it as a Phage and goes towards a Rage Blade now.
The Rage passive is really nice on melee champions.
Yeah, and with more attack speed, more movement speed, certainly better for trying to at least cancel things around. Oh, that's a really long-range Trouble Bubble. It's going to get out of the way of Paddle Star range, thankfully for Marta, who's pretty squishy.
It's in kind of this weird spot where I look at the itemization and the kind of different choices from expectation. The Morellonomicon instead of the Zonias, even though Mundo was behind. It is a Trinity Force on Smeb.
Yeah, it actually just got completed, okay.
That you could argue gives you more turret threat, but does it really, given that Rage Blade has attack speed again? My father would say 6 and 2 threes, and by that means 2 threes are 6 and 6 is 6, so it's kind of hard to evaluate. It's a bit all over the place. The itemization hasn't cleanly given KT an identity. If they have Rage Blade Aatrox, he runs it. The Mundo, or he teleports into a fight and he's not the first person to die, he just kills everyone. If they have Zonias, they can control ward the Baron and then look for a turn with the Swain E, the Never Move, or the Aurelia ultimate. Instead, they have items that are not bad, but they don't actually allow KT to do anything better. But the itemization isn't moving them forward, and maybe the game delays to a third item pickup by KT.
Yeah, and you can see why the items have been picked up, but not in the context of this game, which I think is what we're really talking about here, because Smeb having that Rage Blade to even in the split push, you know, having that extra attack speed means that the towers will melt. And you mentioned 1-3-1, that makes a lot of sense as Rush going to be able to lock down the Rift Scuttler. Ignar unable to lick that one up. Okay, we'll see whether they can overcome this. Of course, items aren't everything, and they do have a gold lead still remaining, but it's not really much of one. It's Trouble Bubble to land once again. Rush actually getting hit by that one, and in fact, he's not going to be able to start this fight once again. Ghost, really good aim, but the stopwatch is going to be there, as now Demonic Ascension means the Deft just trying to gatekeep for his jungler. Crazy getting in over the side, but he's nowhere near the brunt of this fight. Now Def turning this one around, wants to find Ignar, and they turn the fight onto the Mondo. Ultimate was in there from Rush, but that's all he's going to be able to offer as Yukal, exhausted, then has to stopwatch, and I don't know whether he's going to get out. He's not. Tempt is going to lock down that kill, and it's BBQ that find the fight. Want to continue it as well as Ignar with the sick, massive flank. Off to the side, they decide not to turn on him, but it's a 1-0 in favor of BBQ.
Yeah, KT just using all their resources incorrectly. Mata had to ult and grant entrance over the wall just to get there, and sure, got a couple of people with a charm, but it wasn't going to be a team fight changer. There was no flash onto Mata. Consider how much is used inefficiently. Good timing, but you notice Mata on the bot has to grand entrance and ult just to get there. And then Def blows his ultimate before BBQ even committed, so he might be zoning them from following the rest, but that doesn't really matter. And then everything is blown on the Mundo, who was full health, so can't actually get regen. Post 11, Aurelia dives in. We already know the Swain hold is down, so he's not really joining. It's very disjointed by KT after smaller disjointed parts of the game earlier. And for KT Rolster, it means that all things considered, they do have 3 Trinity Forces. They are in a gold lead, but it should be much more.
Yeah. And honestly, it's unacceptable. We know that there's just so much skill on the side of KT to botch and engage to that level. I just feel is sloppy and something that we expect more from this team.
Another game where you look at it and you're like, imagine if there was a marksman for Deft and things were a bit more clear, because when it comes to him playing other stuff, we're not seeing the same value. He did a lot of damage, sure, but it wasn't meaningful damage over the course of this fight. They ended up losing it because BBQ had an Aurelia to hit, and everyone else from KT was kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Well, you can see KT with a bit of a sneaky invade here. Tempt looking to try and clear out this last remaining outer turret. Will be able to do so as a bit of zoning from Yukal. It's going to get slowed down, but no trouble bubble means not a lot of damage. Ooh, thankfully sidesteps that one as well.
A lot of free objectives on the back end. They do get the Rift Scuttle. They did get the mid. Looking for the turn. Mata has flash this time.
Yeah, Darkflight does come in here as well as Ignar. Perfect target to start this fight off as well, but can BBQ turn this one around? The ultimate from the Varus is great, but Trick is dead, and the Varus just pops as an afterthought from Smeb. Disgusting amounts of damage. It's crazy. He can't 1v5 just yet. He almost does, but he isn't going to be able to. He's going to fall as Tempt. The rest of his team's dead, and that could mean Baron for KT.
Much better from KT Rolls. They choose their moment. They get it. They leash the Baron, and they need Aatrox to be tanking that up. Aatrox may be able to 1v3 Atlas. He was massive in the backside.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to turn onto this. The Mundo flashed onto Rush to try to kill him so there'd be no smite for the Baron. Rush doesn't die, and Tempt, he's on a merry chase.
He's got a lot of flashes to pick up, as that's just 2 auto attacks, and Smeb, yeah, he's going to complete the ace. Well, the theoretical ace, and felt like Tempt could have almost done something, but just straight up did.
And this is not the so near yet so far. They can turn cleanly onto Ignar. They know the Devourer is no longer a concern, and they get more. Smeb flashes in with the ultimate to pick up this skill. Darkflight off cooldown. Goodbye, Zoe, doing your best Mundo impression. Is the Aatrox. Speaking of Mundo, he's like, if I kill Rush, maybe they don't take Baron. He doesn't quite get the kill. No attempt at a steal. Nothing able to be done, and now Baron on the Rageblade Aatrox. Finally, it took a bit longer, but now the Aatrox is out of order.
Yeah, and the order of the items may not have been something we agreed with, but Smeb now has them anyway, so he's got so much damage. It's going to be repugnant, deft as well. He's got his Zonyas that he needed at item number 2, but even that is going to be achieved.
I think it's important that we've discussed some of the shortcomings of KT, because they'll probably win this series 2-0. You know, it was on the cards.
That's the expectation.
Right? But they're not passing the eye test when they win here. Let's assume they win against BBQ. People will say, are they back? I think clearly you're still seeing pretty significant problems. And for a team that needs to be evaluated on how does their candidacy to win Summer look, they still look shaky.
Yeah. This is not, can they escape relegation like we're talking about for BBQ. We don't have a lot of expectations there. But yeah, when these guys were, a lot of us predicted them to be the winners of this season, as we've done many seasons past, it's not looking good.
But for KT, another team fight. They should win this game. They now have a significant gold lead, not 10,000, but 7,000. They also have this man who is basically a god in terms of power.
The one-man wrecking crew.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have that Bloodwell available to him as well, so that one's off cooldown, and KT with the fact that they see the Mundo on the top side, they're happy to move forward. We've got a souped up Baron cannon creep that they're just trucking towards this inhibitor turret. Deft actually with the pullback. Temp takes a bit of poke damage.
Temp's so far behind. He wants the Rage Blade, but he's behind in items to the Swain and Rakan.
Oh, look at these guys. Just the Bash Bros smacking down these structures. The Demolition Crew.
It's triple Trinity Force, so they have a lot of turret damage.
Oh, yeah. Not to mention, you know, 3 items on Deft. He's going to be doing a bit of damage to these turrets as well.
True.
With his auto attacks, as KT, they are just going to meander to where the creep wave is available. Half the health bar very quickly as they just clear out the creep wave, clear out the turret, and will clear out this inhibitor.
Be able to brute force for the end just yet. There's a Band of Command minion in the top lane, slowing them down a bit when it comes to a 3-lane assault.
Well, Deft is going to be the one to move over to try and take that one down. Probably not optimal, as they might need a little bit more of the attack speed to try and get rid of that one. However, bottom side of the map is going to be where Smeb's going to reside, as they just shove waves in over and over again. 32 seconds of the Baron buff, so probably wanting to go back relatively soon. Spend some cash as the global gold has been rocking in, and KT, over 10,000 gold is now the lead. In a game that BBQ had some good fights at the beginning of, but it was just some very aggressive moves that they didn't have the answers for, and KT did.
Gathering Storms are slowly coming. 3 procs now for Ghost and Tempt, but I don't think Aatrox cares too much about Gathering Storms if he can build up his Rage Blade on just anyone and then turn it into huge damage onto the enemy team. Yep. They take up the turret. Still triple Trinity Force on the side of KT.
And there is some Paddle Stars still doing some damage on the side of BBQ. As they try to get out there as Rush, he always seems to be the one getting nailed by the bubbles. Not going to be enough to take him down though, and that was the rest of the Baron used to take all of the inhibitors they could possibly take.
Just be tutorial from here for KT after some misfires this game. They could have taken the Mountain Drake, but they say, don't really care about Mountain Drake, care about shopping, getting back onto the Rift. They are very, very powerful at this point. Interesting itemization continues with Yukal going for the Lord Dominic's regards. There is armor on the Mundo, but not a considerable amount. About 3 items in a Thorn Mail, and there's really no armor on anyone else, but sure, I guess you could do that.
Not about bonus armor anymore, though, and passive armor at this level of the game is going to be relevant, I guess.
Even
trying to justify the weird item choice once more.
Even with that change, even if you straw man it, it doesn't really put it over the edge, I think, for that to be a purchase. Of Guardian Angel would have, to me, made a lot more sense. They don't have a damage problem, even though they don't have an AD carry, so another annoying Guardian Angel to deal with would have been my decision.
Well, they've got enough of those, as Smeb's got 2 and Rush has got 1. It's going to be frustrating. Def just got a full Void Staff, which is certainly good news. Now, they're just corralling super creeps into the base.
And Def just runs at them. Maybe they can just take the turrets in front of him. And speaking of
running,
running,
goes Marta. He runs at everyone whenever he can as the ultimate comes in from the Aurelia. Yukal finally starting to do some damage, but it's the structures that are just falling down. We haven't quite found the kills, but in goes Smeb. My God, the damage is disgusting from this Aatrox. And remember, he's got about 16 lives, doesn't even need them as the Nexus falls down. KT, a predictable victory, but we have to say BBQ showing signs of life, in KT still some of the failings from their previous series.
Certainly no one is celebrating the side of KT. A little smile from Yukal, but then the shake of the head to say this was a lot harder than perhaps it needed to be on the side of KT Rolster. They do win. Good comeback performance from Smeb. We'll feel good about the fact that he had a nice scoreline. We have our questions about the team. We do evaluate them based on how they will do in tough opposition, and they've faced a lot of tough opposition already, so maybe they can build up some victories and build up that hope and the heartstrings of the fans, but still work to be done for KT and for BBQ. Just looks like the light at the end of the tunnel, whatever the roster they run, is very faint.
It is. It is. I don't even know whether there is any anymore, but you mentioned Game 1 being very important here for this BBQ roster. Morale is certainly something that they cannot really find at the moment as they're scrounging around, like you say, with only a very dim light to look for it with. See, some bemused faces over this side of the studio, but still, potentially 2 games yet to be played here for BBQ. If they can get across the line, they know that they can target some of KT. the Aatrox might need to be looked at because, good God, Smev had one hell of a performance this game.
A lot of things to ban. KT showing they're willing to go to the extra meta stuff. So the Swain is always a pretty comfortable ban against the team of KT with Yukal's proficiency on the pick. Big damage out of Zoe, but only a stat line, not an indicator of how BBQ were doing in this game. I think Ghost struggled on the Varus, and maybe it's time to bring back Ares and give him a go on a marksman because he's another one of these newer bot laner who had to be a bit of a casualty of 8-11.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that bring Ares back and maybe switch things up for this BBQ roster. Maybe it's Bono's time on the Rift as well. Maybe they can dust off some other players because sometimes all you need is change to make it feel like a new game. If you just roll it back, it might be a bit hard, but KT looking over their side as well, things to improve. We'll see whether they can after the break.